What's up everybody and welcome to the channel. In today's video, we're gonna be working on the Gallardo, doing a fun little vinyl graphic to add a little bit of extra character to the car. I've been thinking about doing some sort of vinyl wrap. I thought about doing a whole color change, but honestly, with a kid now, I just don't have the time or desire to spend an entire week wrapping the car. So I don't really feel like doing that, quite honestly. So then I thought maybe do like a bicolore design, which is an OEM spec from Lamborghini on this car, where the whole roof is basically black. Cool option to go with. It would look great on a white car, but I've narrowed it down to the most simple approach, which is a Balboni stripe. Now, Valentino Balboni served Lamborghini for 40 years as their test driver, but he retired in 2008, and then Lamborghini made a Balboni Edition, which is ironically based off the LP 550-2. So they're all rear-wheel drive. They have a cool stripe down the center. The white cars get a silver stripe. All the other colors available have a white stripe. Has a gold pinstripe to it as well, and then the interior even has a white stripe throughout the seats and the dash and center tunnel. So it's a really cool design. I've always been a fan of the Balboni Editions. I think they're really cool. They made 250 of them. I don't think I've ever seen one in person. Not sure if many came to the USA or not. And most of them actually, or at least a good chunk, are the 6-speed manuals. I have seen E-Gear ones though in photos, but that would be pretty crazy to actually see a manual Balboni one day. But given my car is white, I just have the Superleggero wing on it, so it's a very OEM style, and my car even has the same wheels that a Balboni Edition has on it, and obviously rear-wheel drive. So it should be a pretty cool way to go. The one little difference I did, instead of going with a silver stripe, I went with gray. So I have all the vinyl laid out here, and then I found a 150 foot roll of this gold 1-inch vinyl, and I cut it into different strips, and that will be the pinstripe. And then lastly, I'm gonna do a mini garage update. So my wife and I bought our house, which was about 3 years ago. I completely renovated this garage. This garage was disgusting. The previous owners trashed this house inside and out. The ground, the whole floor was covered in disgusting crap you don't even wanna know. But anyway, we completely cleaned everything. I epoxied the floor. So to get a nice update, things I've added since we bought the house, I have a nice cabinet up on the wall. I got a one for the tools, which has been quite nice. And then all these little plastic drawers for those random screws that you're always gonna need on random projects. So a lot of random stuff here. And then the upright cabinet as well, which has a lot of good stuff in it. Got the trash can. We've just bought a second freezer. Keep the car cover on it, a couple tools. Of course, the Audi flag, because the RS3 sits here. My newest purchase is actually a new lawnmower, so that is the newest set of wheels that I've bought. And then over on this side, we used to have a huge white paint stripe and then another white mark. And then I had all the leather samples, kind of like a Lamborghini dealer. But now that we've had to move a second freezer over here, just to keep stocked up on everything, I went ahead and painted this side back to the Repose gray and repurposed some of this section, along with making a cool shape around these cool hexagons. So this I like. These are actually mirrors from the dollar store. And then we just vinyl wrap them, got the 50th logo. And this whole shape looks like the new Temerario's taillight. So cool little garage update. As far as the epoxy floor, it's looking great. We got 3 years under its belt. Overall, it's been keeping very well. Nothing's peeling or chipping or anything. And the garage is nice, neat, and clean. So with that said, a little garage update out of the way, let's start working on the stripe for the car. And I went with a 10-inch stripe just because looking at photos of a Balboni, they line up with the center dash piece and it's about the same width. So I just kind of measured off of that. It wasn't quite a foot, around 10 inches. So I went with that and then I should be able to line it up nicely. Alright, and there is the hood all done with the gray and the gold. I gotta say that looks really good. It literally matches the Balboni perfectly, and I like the gray that I've gone with because it matches my gray wheels, which is quite cool. I didn't really want to do silver like an original white Balboni car has. But worked out nicely. The gray stripe that I found, it applies just like normal good vinyl. The air bubbles come out well. And then the gold pinstripe, I was easily able to add that on top of the gray, so you're not gonna see any seam or anything. That is a really good way I did that. And I didn't even need to take the badge off. As you can tell, I got it tucked around it perfectly. I taped it nicely and was able to cut on the inside of the logo, obviously with the tape protecting the badge, and then tuck it in quite nicely. But that is looking really cool. I'm really liking this. It's just gonna be a perfect subtle design. And given I have the carbon fiber Superleggera rear wing, the gray should do a good job matching that nicely. And the roof is now done. I did it all in one piece and then just trimmed it nicely where the crack is, and then got it tucked under there perfectly and cut it straight. That way it's a nice smooth line underneath. But now the design is starting to come together like the Balboni. I love how the gray matches the carbon wing in back as well. And then I just have a small piece up there, and then this one's like 18 inches, and then I gotta do the whole thing in the satin black. So that's gonna be a little bit of work. That's why I gotta take the wing off and then obviously reinstall the wing. But that's gonna be a little challenging getting around these areas right here. That's a pretty three-dimensional section. So I guess I'm gonna do the stripe first, and then I'll use some knifeless tape on the non-gold side. That way I can make them connect nicely, because I was going to possibly do the whole engine cover as one giant piece of vinyl, cover in black and then the stripe over it, which could be a good idea. However, I would need a giant piece. That was like an $80 piece. This whole project is less than 50 bucks. So I'm just doing a super easy budget stripe on the car, doing it a simple way. And if I don't like the black, I could always take that off later and leave the stripe. So you know the old saying, measure once, cut twice? Okay, measure twice, cut once. I think I may have done the measure once and don't have the opportunity to cut twice. So I ordered two 1 foot by 5 foot rolls. Remember to try to save some money because I didn't want to spend 70 bucks on a huge like 4 foot by 5 foot sheet. Well, that may have bit me in the butt a little bit. As you can tell, on the bottom section where the wing goes, my 1 foot is plenty to cover the white as well as have overlap for the stripe to where I can tuck the edges. You can see it's just barely a foot up on the top section, but then as we come down, it tapers down and we have more and more space. But as we get up there, I need like 3 or 4 more inches to clear. So this is not wide enough to actually do that. And I just spent like an hour and a half getting the wing off, cleaning up where those were, and then getting the grates off. So that was a lot of time and effort just to get that stuff off to do the black. And now I might need wider vinyl. However, after taking a look at it, I honestly might as well try to piece something together just because I can always peel this right off. But what I could do is wrap this three-dimensional section and use the knifeless tape around this to do this long section here all the way into the back, and then take the extra, which will be covering the glass here, and that'll be plenty to then redo this section. And even if there's a seam on this edge, honestly, given it's satin black, that hides edges pretty well. I might as well just do that. Worst case, if it looks bad, I can literally peel it off without having to take anything off the car. But let's go ahead and do that. I'll do one side off camera, see if it worked, and then we'll time lapse this side if it all worked out.
2 hours later.
And fast forward, I think the black engine cover is gonna be a no-go. I do like the style and the color. It will end up looking really cool, as you can tell. However, my whole car is ceramic coated, and one thing when you're wrapping a car with ceramic coated paint, obviously the vinyl doesn't stick like it would on a non-coated car. So even these little sections right here, which is a very small groove, you can see what that body line looks like. It's even kind of bubbling up. I can even heat it up really good, and that's even coming up. But this corner is pretty hard, being very three-dimensional, and I am kind of running out of space to work. I can't really do what I want. I've got the line here. I had to cut it right here as well. But as you can tell, it's kind of getting a little bunched up. I don't have leverage down here to work on this. Even if I were to lift this up, you know, there's just not much wiggle room to work on it to pull the vinyl that way. So it could, in theory, work the way I'm thinking, but I think we're just gonna call it a day on the black, which is a bummer because this would have taken me a lot less time had I not even wasted my time getting all that stuff off. Well, that is what happens when you measure once and try to cut twice. All right, so we're going with white. We'll do the gold stripe and then get everything back together. All right, so with those grates back in and the vinyl off, time to put the wing back on, which Kind of bummed that this is like gonna be 2 hours of wasted time just because these take a little bit getting off. Here's a trick though, because I need to wire the brake light and the camera up through the supports and out this section. So I took some rubber hose, you can probably see that. I went ahead and stuck them through here and out, that way I can pull these wires back out, because this is kind of a challenging part. I remember when I installed this wing, that was a tough one to get all the wires through it. And as the sun starts to set, there we go, doing the Balboni Edition stripe on my Gallardo. I love the way it looks. It looks really cool. It's just a perfect subtle touch just to spice up the exterior of this car. I love the way this car looks. I mean, I absolutely adore this car, but that is like the perfect touch. So one last look at the car without me in the way. So from the front, you got that really nice gray. I love how I did it around the Lamborghini badge. I taped this up nicely, completely covered it, and I was able to gently cut on the black area. That way I could then put the vinyl down in this crevice without taking the badge off. I considered taking it off, but I didn't want to risk bending it because it is adhesive on. So I really didn't want to mess with that, but it looks perfect. You can't even tell that I didn't take it off. Then we got the gold stripe laying on top of the actual gray. That way you don't see any weird seams or anything like that. And then as we make our way up to the roof, everything is centered and perfect. As you can tell, continuing, this small piece continuing, of course the rear section, and then the last piece right above the wing. I considered doing the wing. Comment below, should I do the wing as well? I kind of like not doing the wing. I think this just is a really good touch. And I did think, should I make little gold strips for the edge of the spoiler? Would that be cool to do both sides of the wing? Or maybe just driver's side? Should I do a little gold touch just on this edge? That could be kind of a neat touch. But there we go, one last look at the Balboni Edition stripe on my Gallardo rear wheel drive. Personally, I am loving this. I think that was the perfect graphic just to spice up the way this car looks. No complaints, that was a $50 job. I wasted 20 bucks on the black vinyl that I didn't end up using, but it looks really good the way it is. That is it for today's video. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, stay tuned for plenty more content, and I'll see you all in the next video.